Elgin Baylor. Elgin Baylor was that player who could do all of the flying acrobatic moves above the rim, just before it became common in basketball. And when he joined the Los Angeles Lakers in 1958, the league had never seen anyone like him. He dunked the ball with hang time that made spin moves and finished shots look superb. In this season, Baylor averaged almost 25 points and 15 rebounds. That very moment, he immediately changed the Lakers from the normal team to a team that could win the finals. While his career became one of the most painful, almost their stories in the history of the NBA. In the 1960s, the Lakers consistently reached the NBA Finals with high expectations. But Elgin Baylor was no doubt great for those runs. In his finals run, he had one game in the 1962 Finals, where he scored 61 points in Game 5, which is still considered as one of the greatest scoring games in championship history. But every time the Lakers reached this stage, they faced the Boston Celtics that was led by Bill Russell. In all of these, Baylor's Lakers lost the finals 8 times. No matter how well he played Boston, they always seemed to have the advantage. However, injuries slowed him down in the 1970s, and he went on to retire in 1971 after struggling with knee problems. Then something unbelievable happened. Months after Baylor retired, the Lakers won the 1972 NBA championship. They did finish the season with a record 33-game winning streak. Pete Maravich. Pete Maravich, known to his fans as Pistol. Pete played basketball in a very special way. The way he played, it was like he was playing on the street and not in a professional league like the NBA. He often did things on the court that got fans in their feelings. He understood the gimmick of often passing the ball behind his back and throwing it to someone without looking. He simply became a fan favorite. When Pete Maravich started playing in the NBA in 1970 with the Atlanta Hawks, people already knew he was a scorer. Based on his past performances, he had set records in college at Louisiana State University that still stand today. He also kept the momentum going in the NBA. And in the 1976 to 1977 season, Pete Maravich scored an average of 31.1 points per game. He led the league in points that year, and he also went on to win the scoring title while playing for the New Orleans Jazz. Man wasn't just scoring points. He was no doubt putting on a proper show. But in all of these, there was something missing from Pete Maravich's career. The teams he played for did not often make the playoffs, and whenever they did not get very far. Along the line of clinging to the championship, he also got injured a lot, which made his career shorter. But late in his career, Pete Maravich joined the Boston Celtics in 1980. In a race to win a championship, his knees were hurt so badly. But with time, he went on to retire in 1980 as a result of his injury. This was very sad because the Celtics later won the championship the following year, in 1981. Unfortunately, he had already quit playing before the glory days. Even though he scored and got over 15,000 points in his career and was an all-star 5 times, he never got the opportunity or luck to play in the NBA Finals. George Gervin. In the 1970s, there was one name that rang in the ears of many and stood out when it came to scoring. George Gervin was that name. He was called the Iceman because he simply played basketball with a calm style that made it look like scoring was no big deal. The way he did his finger roll was something that people could recognize. George Gervin started playing basketball right from the days of ABA. Then he proceeded to join the San Antonio Spurs when the ABA and the NBA merged as one league in 1976. From then on, he was one of the top scorers in this era. Between 1978 and 1982, George Gervin won 4 NBA scoring titles. He often delivers more than 30 points per game, and one of his famous games was played on the last day of the 1978 season. It was a game against New Orleans Jazz, where he was able to score 63 points in one game, and this brought him the scoring title. Even with all the great scoring and performances he had, his team was still not very successful. The San Antonio Spurs as a team during the late 1970s and early 1980s went to several Western Conference finals, but with no outstanding luck. For every attempt they had, they kept running into good teams in the Western Conference like the Los Angeles Lakers, who were becoming a great team in the 1980s. George Gervin went on to finish his career with over 26,000 points in the ABA and the NBA, which made him one of the top scorers. And as time passed on, he was later added to the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in 1996. But with all of the scoring titles and performances, he never truly got what he wanted. George Gervin never won an NBA championship. Dominique Wilkins. Dominique Wilkins was one of the players who made basketball exciting to watch in the 80s. Man was basically called the human highlight film, just because he was a dunker. People had never seen anyone like Dominique Wilkins playing on the court before during this era. He was quite athletic, and on top of that, he could score a lot of points, while also showing off his skills on the court. This made him one of the fun players to watch during his time, and he played for the Atlanta Hawks for most of his career. He was a solid scorer who averaged more than 24 points per game. Fast forward to 1986, Dominique Wilkins won the scoring title, and while at it, he also had some battles with Michael Jordan in the NBA Slam Dunk Contest. Their contest in 1988 is often still talked about till today. It is considered as one of the best dunk contests ever. However, when it came to winning, his teams couldn't go past the stronger opponents in the league. The Eastern Conference had a lot of teams like the Boston Celtics, the Detroit Pistons, and the Chicago Bulls that were contending for the title, and these teams made it hard for him and the Hawks to succeed. The closest Dominique Wilkins got to the finals was in 1988, where the Hawks played the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference semifinals. In this game, the playtime was a series that went to 7 games, and he was able to score 47 points in it. In all of it all, the Celtics still went ahead to win. Even though Dominique Wilkins scored over 26,000 points in his NBA career, he simply never made it to the NBA Finals. Patrick Ewing. In the 1980s and early 1990s, the face of basketball in New York was Patrick Ewing. The New York Knicks had earlier drafted him overall in 1985. He was a notable player right from his days at Georgetown University, and by the time he came to the New York Knicks, expectations for him were at an all-time high. He was able to figure things out and became almost an all-rounder, but defense was what the New York Knicks were all about. In the 1990s, people thought of New York as one of the toughest teams. Their games were always tough and solemnly about defense. And in all of these, Patrick Ewing was the key to everything there seems to be with the New York Knicks. But there was a big problem for them. The problem was Michael Jordan. The New York Knicks were so unfortunate to play the Chicago Bulls in the playoffs for almost every year. And in some of these years, Michael Jordan found a simple way to beat the New York Knicks and limit their reach. But something unexpected happened in 1994. Michael Jordan stopped playing basketball for a while. It was at this point the New York Knicks had a chance to make it to the finals. And they did make it to the 1994 NBA Finals. They played against the Houston Rockets of Hakeem Olajuwon. In this game, the series went on to 7 games, and in which the Houston Rockets later won. Unfortunately, despite their hope and the absence of Jordan, the New York Knicks still did not get the championship. And after that occurrence, Patrick Ewing never had any chance to the finals again, and he simply bowed out of the league without a championship. If you enjoy this kind of NBA content, kindly subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Charles Barkley. There were few players in the history of the NBA who were able to combine power, personality, and production like Charles Barkley did. Measured at 6 feet 6 inches tall, he controlled the paint like a traditional big man. His strength, rebounds, and fearless scoring made him one of the unstoppable players in the 1990s. He went on to play for years with the Philadelphia 76ers. Then in 1992, he was traded to the Phoenix Suns. It was at that moment everything changed for Charles Barkley. In his season with Phoenix, Charles Barkley had the best year of his career. He averaged 25.6 points, 12.2 rebounds, and 5.1 assists, and also led the Suns to one of their notable records in the league. That season, Charles Barkley won the 1993 NBA Most Valuable Player Award. And it was that season that the Phoenix Suns reached the NBA Finals. The Chicago Bulls, on the other hand, who were a defending champion, were on the other side of the court, and Michael Jordan was the leading man for them. The series on this day was one of the entertaining finals in the history of the league. On one hand, Charles Barkley played brilliantly, while Michael Jordan, on the other hand, took his game to another level. He averaged over 41 points per game in the series, and the Chicago Bulls were able to win in the 6th game. For Charles Barkley, this was the closest he came to winning a championship. And by the time he joined the Houston Rockets later in his career with players like Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler, he was still unable to win himself a championship, making him run the cycle of the league ringless. Karl Malone. Karl Malone, one of the greatest players in the history of basketball. He was notable for scoring a lot of points, which brought about the nickname, the Mailman. He played for the Utah Jazz, alongside John Stockton, and together, their combination was super fantastic on the court. Their way of playing offense was quite difficult to stop by other defenders, as they had mastered the technique behind it. As time passed, Karl Malone was able to score a total of 36,928 points in his career, which makes him one of the good scorers in the history of the league. He also went on to win 2 MVP awards, one in 1997 and one in 1999. Karl Malone is that player who is often remembered for these 2 notable seasons, one in 1997 and the other in 1998. In these 2 seasons, that was the very year the Utah Jazz made it to the NBA Finals. They went on to play against the Chicago Bulls on both occasions. In the 1997 final, the Bulls won the series in 6 games, while in 1998, the Jazz were in their top performance and were anticipating to win the championship, but they simply lost it again. The series ended with a shot by Michael Jordan, in which he made a shot in Game 6, which pushed the Bulls to winning the championship. By the time Karl Malone moved to join the Los Angeles Lakers in 2004, he tried his possible best here again to win a championship, but it still did not happen as he envisioned it. The Lakers went on to lose to the Detroit Pistons in the finals. And as time passed, Karl Malone simply retired without any championship to his name. John Stockton. John Stockton played for the Utah Jazz for 20 solid years and simply made their offense one of the best the NBA had ever seen. He was really good at passing the ball to his teammates and making decisions on the court that often put them one step ahead, which made him a great partner for Malone when they did the pick-and-roll attack. John Stockton is that player who did not try to make plays just to get attention. He simply focused on being consistent, and in return, it paid off. In the book, numbers showed how good of a player he was. And by the time he retired, he still had one of the best assists and steals in the history of the NBA, and these records still stand today. Every year, the Utah Jazz were one of the contending teams in the league, and there were several chances to win a championship in 1997 and 1998, when the Utah Jazz made it to the NBA Finals. Unfortunately for them, the Chicago Bulls were in their way at both times of the final. However, John Stockton made one of the most incredible shots in the history of the Utah Jazz. This shot was a three-pointer that won the game against the Houston Rockets in the 1997 and led them to the Western Conference Finals. This sent the Utah Jazz to the NBA Finals for the very first time. But despite all of his attempts, he still wasn't able to win an NBA championship. And by 2003, he simply retired from playing. Don't forget to subscribe and see you in the next video.